Welcome back to Eternal Sonata. So, it's time to, I guess, finally meet Count Waltz. Considering what we know so far, I'm not sure it's gonna work for the best. Kid?
Hello?
You please?
It's always fun hanging out with Phil. He
Yeah,
comes
no,
up with
sorry,
the
not
best
gonna bother me.
pranks.
Now it's time for me to showcase, just for a bit, another particular
That's a square
mechanic.
PC rolling there, isn't it? What a
Yeah.
coincidence. I have one too. We should totally be friends. Surely this is some kind of sign. Would you play a session along with me?
Basically, occasionally you can find NPCs of which you can perform a session. Occasionally you can find items called score pieces, which are basically like a piece of a particular instrument that plays a small bit. By basically playing at the same time of the ones of the people that they have, you can basically perform a session that's more or less in tune, you know, between your piece and the NPC piece. As there's the thing, you don't know which instrument each of your piece is tied to. So unless if you mark the ones that you know and you have used already, you're gonna kind of have a hard time trying to find the correct one if you don't really know the notes that you usually match between each other.
And let me guess,
you get
it's
a
one
reward.
and
The better you
done.
perform, the better your reward is. Yes, Jova?
Let me guess. You have to guess right by the time you meet him, because it's one and done. There's no retries for a better grade.
In the normal game, yes. Like in New Game Plus, we introduce a function that allows you to backtrack to these locations, so that you can use, you can resolve these NPCs side quests, kind of like. One of these, in this PS3 version, has to be used in order to obtain as a prize what grants you access to one of the optional dungeons.
Okay. So anyway, we got here another racist cat who won't accept healing from the sick girl.
This guy will have no time in Overwatch.
Leave me alone.
Especially playing Genji.
I have
Joe
this all
Basic.
the time. I'll be fine if I take some more of this mineral. Ho ho, should we tell him?
No.
Just let natural selection take its course.
He'll probably
Yeah.
be one of the mooks we have to fight eventually. What a shame, what a shame.
Well, we will know. We don't know, Jova. Anyway, time for another cutscene introducing another one of Count Waltz's commander, Tuba. He's fat.
Hey,
That's his
he looks
character.
like someone in authority around here.
You're right, he does.
Well, he's
Let's
got
go
the
ask
eye
him if
patch
he
for
can
it.
get us an audience with Count
He's
Waltz.
voiced by David Jeremiah, if you need to know.
Hold it.
Well, the first
We
thing to
already
do,
know all
Pete,
about your
is
plan. Let's keep this
go back to
Eh?
a normal human
Don't
pose.
resist us, and none of
That's
you will get
sadly
hurt.
also the thing.
Now just hold on.
The Tuba is kind of an idiot because he's fat, derp. So basically, he mistook our group for the Andantino rebels.
Oops.
So he
you'll
thinks
see
that
all
these random
from
people, including
yourself.
children, are rebels who want to politely ask them to fuck off.
Hey, mister, what do you think you're doing?
Would you kindly fuck
Let's
off?
have a little fun.
I heard of police brutality, but this is ridiculous. And by the way, this is another one of your reality checks. Tuba fights alone for some reason. He doesn't use any of the guards as Plunky to his advantage. But he's a massive beast because of being fat, derpy. He's a gigantic sponge, even with my boosted stats and everything. And he has high attack power, which, like I mentioned, by having characters stuck with low HP, which means that despite the highest of defense, you are basically a glass cannon for high-level attacks.
So, unwinnable fight, or fight that you'll lose either way?
How was
No,
that?
no, no. There are no fights
Oh,
that you're
you
supposed
beat
to
him.
lose outside of the one with the legato. However, this is all fine and dandy, but that's the thing. This was just a Tuba play with us, so plan B.
Guess he's not as dumb as
guess I
he...
underestimated
Well, okay, he's
Yeah.
not dumb
You
when he's
there.
in the middle
Throw
of
them into
military
the
So
work.
plan B, arrest all of them. Fuck you too, Ben.
Cut it out!
Yeah, seriously, I'm with
are you
Allegretto
doing?
on this. You beat the shit out of us and then arrest us. Jesus.
This is what we call corrupt government, children.
It's even stupid. Don't worry,
Corrupt
Jova.
government in a JRPG? Gee, I've never heard of that before.
Next thing you're gonna tell me the church is corrupt.
Gee, Viola, I wonder who this girl could be.
Oh, that's the thing. This is another running gag.
What?
Salsa is calling Viola old lady, Baba in the Japanese dub, and Viola is upset because she's barely 30.
Wait.
Because get it, Japanese people think that as soon as you reach 30, you're an old person.
Excuse me.
Anyway,
Excuse me.
meet Salsa. She's March's twin sister, and she's annoying.
Wait.
Like, a lot.
I'm sorry. Back up. Viola is 30.
I must admit I'm rather at a loss. as to
Around
what to do
that,
next.
so let me check
No
if it...
problem.
Weird.
It's
Viola
awesome.
looks barely older than Allegretto, and isn't he like
Character
16?
design, a JRPG, Jova.
Isn't Allegretto like only 16?
They wouldn't call it a dungeon.
Yeah,
I mean,
Hey,
she's
your
taller,
name's
that's your
Salsa,
cue.
isn't it? We saw your sister, and she told us to give.
I
this
just
to
pulled
you.
it out of my pocket space inventory.
Thanks a
well,
bunch.
I have the thing
Oh, by
that
the
we like
way,
to
I
call
think it's a
a
good
chord
time to
record that can
mention the
hold a
voice
lot of
actress
stuff.
behind... I guess it's a good time to mention the
So
active
then,
voice actress
you
behind
people met March?
Salsa and March. The pink hair should have given you a
My
clue,
sister can
guys.
be so
But
annoying
yes,
and
it's
rude
Lisa
sometimes.
Ortiz.
I hope she
Lots
didn't do
of
anything that might have
poor
upset
kids
you.
voice actors here.
Huh. Well,
I'm guessing
it's
March
nice that
has
she
all
gets
the
to show off her
social
range,
skills in
and
the
Salsa
family.
doesn't sound
I'm okay
annoying.
with March, but Salsa just doesn't work.
I mean, granted, I'm not annoyed by Salsa's voice, so is it
No,
her
it's not the voice,
mannerism?
Jova, it's the
All I had
script
to
that
do
she
was
has to
take
work
one
with.
look at ya.
I guess, I mean, so far it seems to be just
Yeah,
typical...
like this one. Like, Allegretto doesn't have the time to explain that March told her, so she's like, "Oh, you're a magician."
I mean,
I can imagine this joke works better for Japanese people, but I don't know. I'm not sure how we could have made it work here.
I mean, I wouldn't... Okay, I'm not necessarily annoyed because it just seems to be the typical spunky teen or
Oh,
preteen
don't worry,
girl.
Jova. You'll get other chances to be.
Hey, she's got a pirate hat, so that's already a plus for me.
That old lady over there.
Hey, thanks, Pete.
Did she even tell her age? Or...
No, I don't think so.
Basically,
later scenes showcase her talking to the more adult members of the party anyway.
Now
so-
granted, the
Also
whole
cute.
kid calls like 30 person
I am a
something,
magician
you
after
know,
all.
old
Older.
thing. Yeah, sure, I can get that in
I get it,
some
Gretel.
cases.
Just don't want Polka to know
It's
what
just
it is
Viola.
Oh, this is also another very annoying beat.
Well, you
Beat
don't
is
have to
like,
worry about
hey,
this doing
it's like
things.
Ryuichi in
My
Persona
lecture's
5 when he
tight
says,
as a
it's a
clam."
good thing no one knows where the Phantom is, right?
I think we can all kinds of
In
things
this
you were
case,
up to
Beat
in
is like, oh,
Regiment
it's a
Hideout.
good thing,
Don't worry
Allegretto, but you
about it.
didn't tell her that you're a thief.
Tight as a clam.
And
Is that so?
for some reason, the game lingers a bit on this kind of joke that he has to be shut in. And don't worry, it will be reprised later. Like I said, this game is not as bad as Fairy Pants Rap, but it has shades of it here and there. And this is clearly one of them.
Well, okay, it's what I call
I
the.
don't know, Teo. I would argue that the lesser aspects of this game can be attributed to both low budget and rush development, and at the same time, the fact that this game is quite experimental. I wouldn't attribute. I wouldn't attribute to malice, incompetence, and pervertedness.
Oh god.
True, I suppose, but that's the thing. I don't know. It's just that when it was experimental mostly in the gameplay, but when it came to actually writing the story and everything, you get these weird moments that just don't make any sense and are supposed to make you laugh, but you don't.
I think I can answer that. See, the lesser qualities of the story are what I like to refer to as anime JRPG quirks, in the sense that there's something you're always going to see in an anime JRPG. For instance, the spunky little girl, check. The spiky
Oh, by
hair.
the way, sorry, Jova, to interrupt you for a second, but yes, we just actually said, and right 5 steps into it, we need another cutscene for another running gag. In this case, Salsa comparing her height to Beat, complete with the xylophone theme.
Okay, let's see.
Wait, hold on a minute.
That a side glance.
What is it, Salsa? We need
That
to keep
is
moving.
definitely a meme face.
We need a
Hey,
plot.
just come here a second.
Huh? Well, what is it?
I think she likes you.
Now stand right there.
Actually, how old is Salsa in March?
Young. kind of like the same age of Beat, like 10 or 12 or something.
Okay, then, so it's not one of those older than they look sort of outfits.
No, they have those elvish, kind of like pointy ears, but otherwise they're the only thing that differentiates them from Beat is the fact that being guardians of the forest, they have more wisdom, quote unquote.
Also, yes, also that is so cheating. Hats don't count. So what, does she have a height complex?
Kinda.
Oh, so that's
What's
why...
that, audience? You didn't find that funny by chance? Don't worry, the game will hammer it for at least over 3 times.
I mean, granted, if it's the setup for a joke, that could be interesting, but if that's the joke in and of
That's the
itself...
thing, Jova. That is supposed to be the joke.
Yeah, I mean, you know, it's not the worst execution.
Well, at least there's no annoying trumpet theme.
Well, the Zylo thing comes close, but at the very least, it's not maybe as annoying. And like Pedro also mentioned, at the very least, this game does not glorify stuff like pedophilia.
Okay.
So there's that, thank God.
Okay, to be fair, the main reason we complained about the trumpet theme in Fairy Prince Rev wasn't so much about the quality of it, it was the
misuse of
overuse. It was more so the overuse of it, and to the point where it was used in settings that did not make any sense whatsoever. Whereas we're here, again, I mean, you know what I mean, the theme itself was competently made enough, it was the way it was used. Here, again, I mean, it doesn't even sound bad, and I'll give it this, at least it was used in an appropriate situation. Now, whether
wouldn't
or not
even give
will be
it that.
overused, we'll have to wait and see.
I wouldn't
By
even
the
give
way-
it that. I found the trumpet theme in Fair Fence have to be just obnoxiously composed. Honestly, it's just like it's a composer who's just it's the equivalent of a composer screaming out, "Look, guys, I'm fun. Look how funny this is."
By the way, Jova,
Oh,
for
go on.
most of the score pieces, and until the one that I actually use, for most of the score pieces, I am actually improvising. So if I manage to get a rank here, it's probably just by pure luck.
Seems a bit weird that, you know, they would kind of put you to the task of just doing random guesswork for something involving a song.
That's
Hey,
the
Jova,
thing.
has it ever happened
if,
to
if
you?
If you know about music, Jova, you can read. You basically, it's like deciphering a code. You can read those notes on your score pieces and understand the notes that they represent. And
Oh
everything.
yes, that's
It's
easy enough.
It's kind of like the braille in Pokemon Sapphire and Ruby.
Well, to be fair, that just takes about a code work. And
Has
if-
it ever
Yes.
happened to you, Jova? Just being approached by a random stranger and asked to perform a
Oh,
session
but
with
by the
them?
way, Jova, about Rita, this line that is about to come up with Allegretto because I don't understand what the joke of this is.
Goody. Speaking of which, who's voicing Salsa?
I guess me.
Yeah.
You? Okay.
Hey, go
Oh,
ahead, Jova.
let me guess.
Unless
because
you,
he's-
well, it depends. How's the timing of your text that you put in?
No, the
you
only
know
time
what they say.
whatever.
If you don't go
Yeah.
into the lion's den, you can't count your chickens.
All right, I'll do it
even-
then.
They even pull a wind sound effect. I don't get it either.
That
Uh,
doesn't make any sense. Yeah.
Oh wait,
Yeah.
no wait. I thought Shura was voicing Viola.
yeah,
Sure.
Viola and later in falsetto. I pasted for Shiri. Anyway, next dungeon. These basically are the caves that will lead us to the exit.
What are we doing in the Garden of Hope?
Dun, dun,
Well, no,
dun, dun.
that's the thing, Jova. It's closed. The Garden of Hope is actually in the open. Basically, this is the secret passage that Andantino used to sneak away into the prison. That's what boggled me, though. In the prisons, there was just a simple hole in the wall without anything covering it. If it was like a secret passage, let's say, a drawer or something was covering it, that would have made sense. Like it was hidden from the guards. But in this case, it
Don't
was
be such
kind
a
of right there in
crybaby.
the open. Anyway, let's see how Salsa works. She has chakrams that uses in close range.
That was fabulous and
Um,
refreshed.
Her attacks are serviceable. They can be powerful. However, I do not really recommend playing as her because she has some of the lowest HP
Oh, I
bars
think I get
you
it.
can get. She, in a normal kind of game, she is the glass cannon, being young and everything, kind of like Beat.
So,
But she's rewarding because she's very extremely powerful. So if you know how to use properly your characters without getting too much damage, that's kind of the character for you.
so let me guess. Whereas her sister March is more so about support and defense, she's all about
Yes.
attack and
Exactly,
restraint.
red only, blue only, Jova. Basically, if you went on the plane, like I mentioned in another part, if you went on the
Alright
planes,
There
you
should be a
could have
switch
seen this
behind
rock
this
and actually
rock.
check, and Allegretto would have said something like,
47, if you wouldn't
there's
mind.
wind blowing up on the other
Right.
side. So basically, the plan of Andantino was to enter here and actually rescue Salsa from the prison. Guess we did the work for them.
Goody.
Funny.
Discount Lightning is not amused by
Finally,
this.
I've been dying for some fresh air. But I
And
can't
this kid
believe
looks
I
like a
hosed
little
Rock
Vanille.
out of the way just by giving it a little
No
push.
Australian
Oh my god,
accent,
she
sorry.
does.
I'm even stronger
She
than I
does.
thought I was.
Oh, her eyes. Wow, God, those eyes look
Who
super
are you people?
dilated.
And how did you know about this secret passageway?
She had some eye drops.
We
Well,
just
now it's,
escaped
there you
from
go, Tone.
being
Now
held
it's
in
the
a
perfect
dungeon
time
in
to be
Forte
thankful
Castle.
this is on my back on Pile Heart, because having a child orgasm is exactly the kind of thing they would do.
Whoa, 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 wait.
Thank God
Whoa.
they did
No
not do.
kidding.
I don't
well, they
think-
did
Anyone
no,
would have run
they
I don't-
didn't do anything like that with
Oh,
Lola.
my
Thank
hair is a
goodness.
total
Yeah, in
mess.
fact, I don't think Pile
Don't
Heart.
tempt them, Teo. Don't tempt them.
We have Volnir of a Dragon Star for that.
Yeah.
Oh, no, no, no. It's not so much children orgasming, but it's apparently witches hooking up with dragons and giving birth to them.
I know, I'm
All
just
in
saying,
due-
like,
all in
after...
due time for that. And look at that! The beat was derping out and almost telling everything. And this is also another instance where the mocap failure shows. Allegretto trying to desperately holding beat,
It
and a
would
lot of
seem they're
times
not our
just
enemies.
shows that it doesn't
I
work.
suppose you're right.
But that's
Let's hurry up and
the
get back to
positive
the
thing
mission.
in this is that Andantino
Wait a
doesn't
minute,
need to
Falsetto.
do the dungeon anymore. So, mission accomplished, I
These
guess.
people might
You
just
know,
be
I
able
think
to
the main
help
reason
us.
we pay mind to the
We are
failed
members of
voice capture is
Andantino,
the fact
and we're
that
trying to
this
find the
was
guardian
how
of
late was
Agogo
this into the
Forest.
PS3's life cycle?
Almost at the beginning, Jova.
Actually, no, Teo,
2007,
because-
2008.
The didn't the PS3 version come out in 2009?
2008.
Oh,
2
really?
years after release.
So,
Oh, really?
I mean,
Okay, never mind then.
I guess in that regard.
And originally this was made for the 360. Anyway, now we're seeing how Salsa
No, I
was
know that.
captured.
Please, listen to me.
She basically went to Forte for the same purpose as us, to, talk about
Young
the
lady,
forest and
I'm
everything.
tired of
However,
repeating
Waltz was
myself.
too busy and had Legato actually, receiving her.
Well, at least she handled it diplomatically, I guess.
True.
The mountain and the forest are dependent on each other.
Yeah, I'll give her this. Most annoying characters would just handle this sort of stuff
I've
obnoxiously. She's at least being professional about it.
There you go, Jova. So 2008, which means 2 years into the PS4's lifespan.
PS3.
PS3.
PS3, yeah. Yeah.
Sir, Agogo Forest is our home.
Please.
But if you keep digging,
Agogo Forest.
And apparently this changes everything because, as Waltz said before, glowing agogos are everything that we need to power up the mineral powder.
I have been a
So
guardian
it's
of
best
Agogo
for the interest
Forest
of
since the
people
day
to
that I
not
was
let
born.
Salsa leave. And you can guess where this went.
This is the first time I've come to a city like this.
I guess it's a job given to those in great need.
That's also
Guards,
another
please
interesting
come
thing.
and show our
Legato
guests
is
who
not
will.
crazy like the other henchmen of Waltz, but he has shades of it
He's
here and there. It shows that he has some malicious intent for the sake of being loyal to the Count.
what's a shame. He seems like he could be an otherwise nice
So
guy.
this girl is the guardian
Sorry,
of
Jova,
Agogo
it's not
Forest?
Paiga.
Eh. Oh my
Seems
god,
our
so you're
mission
telling
is
me... Yeah,
complete.
that is kind of sad that Pike is a bit more charismatic.
You guys sound like
Oh, you know, okay. I'll give Fairy Fence Ref this. I'm glad
Why
that
don't
they
you come
didn't
back
go
to
down the
my
route of
village with the
Paiga
rest of
getting
us?
screwed over in the end. Like, it is nice that he actually did get to succeed.
Besides, once they realize we've
Well,
escaped,
depends
they
which
won't
ending are you
come
talking
after
about,
us.
because it depends on which of the three endings.
She brings
'cause,
Well,
he-
the
Doesn't he
Evil
make it
up
Goddess
fine
one
in-
is the more canonical. In case you're out of the loop, folks.
Teo, remember, the Evil Goddess Strat is the one that has a sequel hook, so that's the canonical.
Yeah, that's
Well,
what
Paiga
they mean.
makes it
That's
out
what
fine
the
in
one
that one.
canonical.
Ah,
But
okay.
anyway, in case you're out of a loop,
Good
audience,
question.
just watch our Fairy Fencer comment. I'll make
I'm
sure
not
to
really
have
sure.
this being
Though I must
publicized after
admit,
that.
It's kind of an
Thanks to
epic
them,
in both
our mission
length
was
and
a
the
resounding
conclusion, to say the
success.
least.
You'll see. Point being, mission
right.
accomplished,
And
so
much
we
earlier
need to
than
go
we
back
planned,
to the
too.
Agogo Forest.
It looks like
Jess,
we've got some extra
Claves,
time left.
and Falsetto will escort us, but will not
Let's
join our
listen to what they
party
have
just
to
yet.
say.
So, let me get this straight.
Maybe they can tell us
The
about
Kingdom
the
of
inside
Forte is afraid of Salsa exposing what they're doing to the Agogo
boring.
Forest.
No,
Cells
they
go
they
according
need
to
her
plan.
they need her in
It's nice
order
to
for
have
her to
things shaken
tell
up every
them
once in a
the secret
while.
of the glowing
That's
Agogos.
okay with you,
Maybe-
However,
Chavez?
if you paid attention to the previous cutscenes, Jova, you know that even the Guardians of the Agogo Forest actually have no freaking idea about the glowing Agogos themselves.
Then it's settled.
They're kind
So
of
basically,
about that.
Waltz and Legato were fighting a desperate
Allegretto,
battle
is
on
something
this.
the matter?
Wonder why they want the Agogos so badly.
No, it's not.
Waltz
really.
said it to
I was
increase
just
the
thinking
effect
I
of a
need to
mineral
pay more
powder.
attention to
How
me,
do they know
that's
if
all.
they've never even found these things?
Well,
They tested
he
the
did do
normal
his
ones. They
best.
need the glowing one because
Yeah,
apparently
he didn't
it
do too
increases
badly.
them tenfold.
For a
But supposedly they have a
clan.
theory, but they will need testing. You talk about testing, Jova. You will have your answer in a later part.
But of course.
Point being, and now Waltz is about to call out Tuba on his bullshit.
Retto?
Expect
Now
an
listen to this.
Andantino to just show up at the front gate bearing gifts. for us.
Seriously.
My apologies, Count Waltz.
Durr.
Listen carefully, Tuba.
It's weird though
I don't
because
think
his
I
design
need to tell
doesn't
you this is
really
your last
scream
chance.
dumb fat guy.
Find them
I wouldn't even
and
really say
eliminate
he's
them all.
dumb. He's just a guy who's hot-headed. Like, well, I mean, we've seen that he can actually think well enough when he's in the middle of a battle. Like, he
No,
didn't just
wait.
try and do it us all
The
on his
guardian
lonesome.
of
Like,
Agogo
after we beat
Forest.
him, he
Bring
actually
her
got
back
us
along.
detained. He just seems to be a guy who's a bit stalwart. No, he's
That
dumb
is
in
the will
basically
of
assuming the
God.
worst
That's
of
such a
everyone.
trustworthy face. But yeah, the point being, now we know that Tuba is on the party's trail and they need to get away really fast. And what's specified for Salsa to be taken alive. Well, because of course, like I mentioned, Waltz need them either. Sorry. But yeah, that's kind of my well, I can understand what you may say, Peter, about Tuba's design, but it's the problem. They basically it's not even a case of flanderization. It's a case of noticing an aspect of the character and just running through it.
I mean, okay, I'll admit, yeah, him detaining them and assuming that they were part of Andantino was dumb, but
Hold on, Jova. Sorry about this. For this
By the
particular
way,
cutscene,
Frederick,
we're
what are
bringing
you
back
making this trip
about
for?
the
I
fact
don't
of,
think you ever told
why
us.
Frederick is going on with the party. He doesn't really have a motivation on his own, so he's about to bring up again the fact that he's dreaming all of this.
why are we back in this room all of a sudden when we were just in the forested area?
And now remember, this is connected to to
Oh.
Fort Fermata.
God, I
Java,
forgot.
it's a dream. It doesn't have to make sense.
Not for this case at the very least. We're backtracking basically.
October 17th, yeah.
Mr. Chopin is taking a journey on which he
Oh
will
my
have to
good-
face himself.
So wait, so let me get
Someone please tell this doctor
Whether
to
that
shut
journey
the
will
fuck
end
up.
this. Let me get this straight. We clearly have a character who shares George's actual model, in-game, Polka's mother, but no, the actual equivalent to this woman is Falsetto, who doesn't look the least bit
That's
like
the thing,
her.
it's not the same model, Jova, and they even have a same different actress. She's voiced by
get-
Mona Marshall.
I get the feeling this doctor got his PhD from the same place that Kent Hovind got his
Will it
PhD.
startle you?
I mean,
Anyway, hold on, let's see how the characters react
this
by the
moment,
fact
I'm
that
asleep in
they're in
Paris.
a dream.
As a pianist, and as a composer as well, I've produced many popular works.
Oh,
that
so
have
you're a
brought me
lucid
rather good
dreamer.
deal of renown there.
Did you say Paris? That's not a place I've ever heard of.
This is also
Yeah.
It's far
Really
away.
weird sense of humor,
If
mister.
this was Final Fantasy X, he will say that
Hold on,
scene
I assure
he
you
was
I'm not
exposed to
joking.
scene.
Well, you're sure saying some pretty funny stuff. If you want us to believe you, you better show
Present
us some
evidence.
I'm afraid you find me at a loss there. But
True,
perhaps
what
that's
she
That's
said.
yeah. That's why
character I'm
Chopin
searching for
decided
in
to
this
not talk too much about this
And
because
to be perfectly
he
honest,
really started to
my
be
own
insecure
certainty
about all
that
of
this
this.
world is
The
only
world
a
that
dream
is
is
around
beginning
him
to
right
wake
now, it seems to be more and more
really?
real.
While this
But-
is
You
an
just haven't
interesting
had
plot
too
point
much
and
mineral
whatnot,
powder?
it does seem like they're trying to make
Not
this
that
a
I've
bit of
ever
a
heard of
dilemma
side
in a
effect that makes
weird
people
fitting
confuse
area.
dreams with
I mean,
reality.
granted, maybe they're gonna bring up the possibility that if it's his dream,
No,
he
I
could fix
haven't
all the
taken any
problems.
mineral powder.
Later on, Joe, that's
But as
for
for
another little
confusing
dialogue.
dreams with reality, well, there is something
She
to
literally
that.
asked if he was on
This
drugs.
world does seem incredibly
Yeah.
close to reality.
well, dreams, they feel real
Can it
when we're in
possibly
it,
be that
don't they?
I've somehow
Uh,
lost my ability
Only
to
when you wake up
distinguish
that you
between
find
what
out
is
something was
real
actually strange.
and what is unreal.
Hold on a minute there. I don't think figuring out whether something is real or not should be quite as complicated.
I
as you're
don't know,
making it.
Falsetto. You're not the philosopher type.
Reality is something that just is. It's like the way we're not consciously aware of air when
My
we're
thoughts
breathing it.
exactly.
True.
Speak for
I
yourself,
suppose it
honey.
is
I'm
nearly
very aware
impossible
of
to
air.
confirm the existence of things which seem so natural to us. However, unconfirmed and non-existent are two entirely different concepts.
Not quite.
Get it, liquors.
This is making my head hurt. Can you start over again, Frederick?
Brr,
Why
I'm
are
a
you
kid.
doing
I
this on
don't
this
know
trip in the
stuff.
first
You
place?
know, as someone who is very hyped for the
Good
next Smash
question.
game and has to defer what is
believe
real or
that
not
I'm
between
somehow
leaks,
being
yeah, I get
tested.
this.
That I am on this journey to come to some realization.
What time you
order
at,
to do
Jova, by
so,
the way?
I'm at
supposed to live my life to the
25:07.
fullest.
8.
Yeah, you're like
If it
5
is in this
seconds
mortal
behind
world of
us, so
dream
go
and
to
reality.
26.
What the? So then you're
Okay.
not really traveling for
I'm
Or
no
at-
20,
particular
25,
reason at all?
45 or
I'm at
something.
Man,
25:30.
you sure are a strange
Alright,
bastard.
almost there.
Look, Allegretto, if you don't want
Hold
him
on,
in the group,
and click. Yeah, Allegretto is being a dick
What?
once again.
What did I
again,
do wrong?
Allegretto, if you don't want him in the
No matter
party,
what
just
you
give us
say,
a
you
good
shouldn't
reason
talk
why.
to people like that. You're being rude to Frederick.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
Seriously.
I'm being rude? Wait, you don't actually believe this guy.
Again, I thought this. Whoa.
Don't make me act!
Fine, fine. So then are you saying that you actually believe Frederick's crazy story?
You know,
I
to be
should
fair,
know. I
Allegretto,
think it's a
just a
wonderful way to
few
think about
days ago.
Honey, I understand that, but at the same
You
time,
really
you should
mean
find a
that?
middle ground between these.
Yeah.
Well, I don't actually believe that we're living in a dream world, but I think the
Ha!
thought's nice.
So I was right.
Spoken like a
You
true
don't believe him
PC.
either.
Okay, Allegretto, if you have such a big problem with Frederick, why don't you know? We have a saying here in my country: the guy who's bothered should be the one to
You still
leave.
got a
You're the
lot
one bothered
dragging
here,
that
so
whip, don't you?
leave,
Don't be
asshole.
quiet.
Oh
Let's go.
god, and now we're turning this into you got a lot to learn about women. Sure, you want to cover
That's
this
because
one?
that's because Viola is shipping the two.
Which is
Don't
weird.
don't ship your friends. It's weird.
It's just
Yes?
like I hate the way Allegretto is written because it's like two writers were writing his
And keep
character
in
and
mind,
fighting
It's
for
weird.
different characterizations.
You know the
And
weird
keep in
thing?
mind, don't worry about this dialogue, is not really important, I will summarize after it ends. And keep in mind, this is the better version, the 360 version it was even worse.
Wait. Pirates? Why are we mentioning pirates now all of a sudden?
They were mentioned before. The
Oh,
fort,
that's right, yeah.
the fort was built to contain the attacks from the south, which mostly were coming from pirates because they went from the sea.
So I guess they
Um,
still have to deal with pirates then, I guess.
Occasionally, we will see pirates later on in the game, don't worry, Jova.
But anyway, going back
Um,
to what I was saying about Allegretto, the
go ahead.
weird thing is like, well, you know, I mean, up until this point, I feel like he's been written fine enough. I mean, sure, he's been a bit of a skeptic, but never one that outright says, oh, this is crazy or one. That's like, well, literally, this bout of Allegretto felt like it came out of nowhere. I mean, he's been
Keep
a bit
also
of...
in mind that this is the first major time Chopin has told Allegretto about his dream condition. So far,
True.
only Polka knew about this.
And okay. Maybe, to be fair, that is a bit of a well enough reaction and whatnot. I think what's weird
It's
to
the
me...
way he reacts about things.
True.
I
He
understand
just comes across as
Allegretto's
an
point of
asshole.
view. I understand Allegretto's point of view, but he could have phrased that better that
Yeah.
way. I get that he's an angsty teenager because, you know, rebel thief with the heart of gold and shit.
That's the
but
thing. He hasn't
it just
even really...
doesn't work.
That's the thing. It's like, well, for the most part, he's been a thief, but one who works with life and, you know, has been understanding enough. Now, I can get the reaction, you know, like, suggesting that his entire life is actually just a dream. I could get him rebuffing those, but the way the conflict is actually carried out... Yeah. You know, the way that the conflict is carried out is weird. It's like, one minute Allegretto's going, oh, you're crazy! Then the next minute he's like, well, you know, okay, fine. And it doesn't help that Polka is just as much in and out as possible. Now, granted, Allegretto does bring up a good point, but in a similar case to Polka, he kind of just backs off when he clearly could have followed it through with an actual answer. Like, he could say, look, guys, I get that, you know, I should be open to beliefs, but if I have a belief that is literally contradicting my own existence, then I really just want proof of it. Sure, he can stay, but I just don't believe it. And boom, there you go. No need to hold up the whole fight.
Which is basically what the dialogue between Beat and Frederick was. Beat was saying, we kind of need some evidence of kind of this, and Frederick's like, well, I don't have them, but that's why I didn't want to mention this, because I want to believe in myself as well. That was kind of the best compromise. Then Allegretto poked his nose into things.
Weird as it may
So-
sound, Allegretto feels like a beta version of Phoenix Wright. I mean, obviousness of Sam Riegel aside, he feels like Phoenix Wright if he were being written in the beta stage. Like, sure, we've got the main ideas, like, a guy who's skeptical of people and whatnot, but then they forgot to add in the qualities that, keep us liking Phoenix. And the weird thing is, like, it's just for that one scene,
So
which
basically,
may or may not be
by,
a recurring factor.
by that is Allegretto is basically reverse Layton, because Layton was created apparently taking the good qualities of the final version of Phoenix Wright.
Yep.
So if you take out of those, and what remains is Allegretto.
That and the classic interpretation of Sherlock Holmes.
Oh, yeah, no, I'm just quoting also part of what was relevant for this. But the point being, yeah, that's the thing. Allegretto later on will kind of grow out of this, thankfully. But like I said, in the 360 version, he still had shades of this throughout all the game. All the game. It was very. It took you away.
And I will and I guess to be fair, we are technically still in what could be considered the first act of the game. So if Allegretto does,
almost at the end. Well, if it was theoretically divided in this, we're almost at the end of this one.
Now, okay, I will give him this. Like, if he does naturally develop from this state, then okay, fair enough. However, would you say it does develop naturally, or it feels more abrupt? Again, like I said, this is like
I do believe it's natural and also fitting for his age, because remember, he's an angsty teenager, so I'm not expecting him to be completely rationalizing. Because
I think it would work. I think it would work better if he had a different background, in the sense that, like, for example, the reason I don't mind, at least not as much. Okay, the reason I'm willing to tolerate Luke's attitude in the beginning of Tales of the Abyss is because his background does justify the spoiled brat personality of his. Whereas Allegretto, he doesn't really have a background or, history to really justify his complete, his these asshole-ish outbursts. I mean, he just does it.
To me, it's kind of the opposite, Pedro. The lack of background ultimately makes me not care too much about Allegretto as such. I don't pay too much mind on these outbursts when it comes down right to it. But instead, when it comes to Luke, he's supposed to be the protagonist and I need to know everything about him. So to me, it's even more annoying by the fact that I'm in control of someone who I don't want to be in control for reasons that I know. Like, that's ultimately what it is.
To me, honestly...
Anyway, to recap briefly what we just talked about, we basically explained a bit more of the history of Fort Fermata. Basically, it was built by a previous ruler of Forte, which he was really a just ruler, but basically making the fort was his biggest mistake because he inadvertently trapped people inside his kingdom and they ultimately revolted against him. It's kind of like a lesson of power.
I guess you can.
Yet somehow they got a new monarch.
Alright, Jova.
Sorry.
It's time for actually to answer your question about the bridge being unstable. By the way, that's another thing of the character design of Viola. She has a hood, but she never puts on. It looks way too small for her head.
Oh, I understood it just fine.
I don't know what you're telling because of the fucking waterfall.
I don't know, she's pretty loud.
To put it simply, if there's no
Yeah,
tax on
care to
those
say that again, Shiroi?
Well, she specifically is very loud.
It's also the camera. Like, why would you have a character in the background talking with a scene like this?
Why must we insist on standing next to waterfalls when we have important conversations?
Why are we having this conversation in the middle of a bridge?
Right, yeah, that's actually a good point, Jova.
That's like one of the most dangerous places to be!
Get the fuck off the bridge!
Not only that, Jova, the game will kind of lampshade this. If they had this conversation right at the end of the bridge, they would have saved so much trouble that's about to come.
And the sad thing is, like, well, there are plenty of reasons you could have explained why they had to stop in the middle of a bridge. Like, maybe somebody tripped and nearly fell and they have to recover, or maybe they noticed something that they're trying to get that's in the middle of the bridge, or, again, there are reasons you could explain why they've caused in the middle of the bridge. I mean, it just gives enemies more time to catch up with you.
Also, that hand gesture of Chopin was weird. He just takes his hand and puts it like that forward.
Yeah. a dwarf
Just
can
get
come
off
in.
the bridge.
A dwarf can come in and start cutting the
Building
ropes.
up an army for
So
a
it's
man
it's
that
dangerous.
happened.
So I'm guessing Teo, he would have preferred if they handled it kind of like what Tabata did with Noctis.
Exactly right, Beat. You figured
Well,
that out.
I don't know, Pedro, because I only saw the design
Oh,
material of 15, so I decided.
Well, how about
Oh,
this?
let me guess, let me
episode
guess.
3,
Let me
episode
guess.
3 of Brotherhood is a good enough summation. So what do you think of that?
Sure, I guess.
Let me guess, Tio. You're waiting for the final edition of the story of 15 before playing
Or
it, aren't you?
either to me actually getting the fucking game, which I should be by this point, or when we'll actually.
Well, actually, right now the Royal Edition is on sale for a really low price, so you can try to take it out.
You know-
I'll see.
You know what's sad? My dad got me Final Fantasy 15 for Christmas, right before the Royal Edition came about.
Well, to be fair, Game of Year editions of games like those are common, so
There you
it's
go.
kind of-
Even Sansa is just like March. Sansa is suspicious about the fact that she haven't never heard of the glowing goggles. But hold on.
So how does Forte know about
Hold
it?
on. There you go. Yeah. Guess what? Just by 10 separate times, you made Tuba catch up on you.
Well, let's see. It's all of us against just him, which we've beaten before, so...
And that's the thing. Of that. Where are we standing?
Oh, crud.
Don't worry, we actually get to fight him. And for some reason in this fight you're forced to use beat. So if you haven't leveled him up at this point, tough luck.
Why are we forced to use beat specifically?
I
Is there a
know
particular
why.
reason?
Because in the previous fight he was knocked out, so I guess it's revenge or something.
Yeah, it's one of those story-based conflicts of sorts.
It's basically, well, not as bad, but it's kind of like following the final boss of Final Fantasy VIII. Instead of allowing you to choose your party members, it randomly chooses party members for you, which basically and as you'll know, the final boss of Final Fantasy VIII has a lot of Necron-style bullshit, which means if you don't get Squall, you're basically fucked.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, to be fair, I can understand...
Alright, no, don't jump. We're about to get your payoff. Again, where are we standing?
I mean, I know that the bridge was conveniently widened for the sake of the battle,
So
but
Tuba is about to die, so he does the less logical
he's gonna
thing.
take us all with him, isn't he?
Yeah.
Well...
Well, guys, maybe you should have that lengthy conversation on the other side of the fucking bridge.
Hope you
You
can
know,
swim!
hidden away from the guy who was chasing you.
Yeah, seriously. And this unfortunately separates the party. This is gonna be kind of like a breaking point for the party, and we will control two separate groups for the time being. First, we will reprise the action on the group led by Allegretto, and then on the group led by Polka.
So it's like Final Fantasy VI. We're water separation.
Kinda, pretty
I
much.
see Polka's doing her very good Aerith impression.
Not just that. Not just that. Even while in the middle of the air, fainted, she still retains that pose where the arms are in this, this triangular shape. Like, seriously.
Also,
T-pose for dominance, like Shiri said.
Also, the way that she's positioned, shouldn't she have been swept up too, unless she's somehow caught by her
That's
hair?
the thing. Later on, we know that she survives this, but we don't see how she got away from that situation. So we just assume that she eventually, managed to free herself or something. Anyway, that was, like I mentioned, the breaking point. Joining for the next part, we will reprise the action on Allegretto's group, telling what the other party member is composed with. So we'll see you for that.
See you next time.